Yes, sir, it is me. Hello, it's Jeremy Kirkland. I'm back. I'm back from my vacation, actually. I was cruising around a lake, doing some kayaking, doing a little boating, swinging from the back of a boat on a tube, hanging with my kids, just being a vacation dude. I also got weirdly into pinball. We stayed at this little resort. It was at Table Rock Lake, and they had an Indiana Jones pinball machine. And one night, your boy just went in there and started tickling the flippers, and I was crushing it. It was great. It was great to play pinball like an idiot, and I had the time of my life. But look, vacations, as great as they are, if you go with kids, it's not really the full sort of vacation that you think about. You know what I mean? It's always a little different because you got the kids there and you're kind of not totally off, but it's okay. It's okay. It was good. I hope everyone is getting some type of time off or scheduling one. Just take a little day for yourself. Take a little me day. But I have a feeling my guest is not taking any time off this week. In fact, as we record this, I think he's on a plane because we were chatting over email. But Ken Sakata has been slowly taking over Substack, TikTok, and Instagram. I mean, basically all social media. He's been documenting and teaching the world about clothes. His brand is called Front Office. And as you'll hear, he's been designing and documenting the entire process in front of everyone. But here's the thing. Let me call this out. There are other people who do this like, you want to follow along with me while I make a brand? He's not doing that. And also, a lot of those people that do that, I don't know if I'd wear the stuff that they're working on. But Ken's stuff is really good. Front Office is a great brand. Just set that aside. Ken explains and outlines what's happening in the industry in an incredibly refreshing way. And it's a pleasure to have him on the pod this week. Very glad we got to make this happen. Ken and I discussed the origins of Front Office, edutainment, clothes for museums, you'll hear about that, moving his brand and himself to Japan, and what's next for Front Office. All right, let's go. So what is the workload now? Like, what's your whole, we started talking, getting into nitty gritty, but like, what's your day-to-day these days now?
It's a weird business, I must say. Like, I don't think I've had 3 weeks in a row where it's like, this is the business now. This is what we do. It's like every 3 weeks, it's like it's a different business, it's different challenges. The current state of the business is that we're in the process of moving to Japan. And as in? Well, I say we, it's me.
Okay.
The business is essentially me, and I've got 3 part-time employees that work once a week.
Okay.
One of them has taken on a lot of responsibility now, so she's in charge of a lot of the content side of things. And really, it was going great at the start of the year, but the supply chain was sort of, I'm Japanese, and I was very excited about using Japanese fabric. And because of cost reasons, because of efficiency reasons, because of the size of the company, making stuff in China was the solution at the time. And because of then the internet started going crazy with the following, like really, really unexpected. So, sort of went from like 50,000 to 100,000, 100,000 became 200, 300. And then the business pretty much overnight became not an Australian business anymore, but we started selling to the States, the UK, EU, Scandinavia, much more than Australia. So Australia currently accounts for like 15% of our business, although we're based here. And then the tariffs started happening. This is like, it's just endless whinging from me, really, because business is going so well. And I really had within a week, we had sort of gone insane. And I was so happy. I was like, okay, it's finally happening for the brand. This can be a full-time job for myself. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
And then I'd just come back from Japan sourcing fabric and meeting the Chinese factories. I'd sort of spent some time in China as well. And then the week I came back, he had sort of announced this 154% tariff.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm not a huge businessman, to be perfectly honest, but 154% seems quite high. So overnight, what seemed like a very sweet year, I had to stop production, stop the orders. And then with all the money that we accumulated from basically 1 month, it had to last us maybe towards the end of the year.
Oh,
yeah,
whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we stopped selling to the US. in April or March, actually in March. And then we had to figure out, okay, so what are we going to do now? Like, we can't make it in China and sell to the US anymore. So what's going to happen? So sort of scrambled. I immediately flew back to Tokyo and then started meeting with factories, fabric mills, and then the 3-year plan of moving to Japan became pretty much a 3-day plan that we just had to scramble. So that's the current case. We're currently in rounds of sampling right now. So all of our like core pieces are going to be made in Japan, and as well as all these things that were like new developments are now being made in Japan as well. So hopefully in September, October, it's going to be a Japanese company, and I'll personally move there in January next year.
Oh my God. Well,
yeah.
Congratulations in moving, but also
it's a work in progress. It's crazy. But
yeah,
it's a personal ambition of mine, obviously, because I'm Japanese. And I think, especially when the fabric is already made there, and I've been such a huge admirer of like Japanese fashion, and as well as like being a Japanese person myself, I think it solves a lot of my own personal problems. But it definitely elevates the business to something that I had always wanted it to be, I guess.
Yeah. So let's just say you're making lemonade from the lemons here.
Yeah. And not only that, it's like, the situation out of China, which is like a different business culture, is that, you speak to a Chinese factory. This is my own personal experience, so I'm not like generalizing. My personal experience is that you speak to a Chinese factory and be like, I'm interested in doing clothes. And they're like, yes, we can do it. So I haven't told you what it is yet. It's like, yep, we can do it. And you're like, okay, like, all right, we'll do whatever as long as you order like at least 300 of it.
Yeah, the MOQ is usually, or minimum order quantity is usually 300.
We'll have it at your door in 6 weeks, but you need to order 300 of it, and you have to restock it about 3 times because the fabric minimum is crazy as well.
Yeah.
So we were very used to making stuff in Australia, which is like a different business culture. It's kind of like the factory that we were using was like half a factory and half a chicken coop because the guy was also selling chickens as well.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, okay.
So it's like, everyone thinks of China as the third world, like, using kids and pregnant women, all this stuff. It's like, it could not be more different. Like in Australia, it was kind of third world conditions. And in China, it's like, it's so jaw-droppingly capitalistic and efficient,
Yeah.
And to go from that to Japan is another kind of culture shock that, has all happened in the last 6 months, basically, all because the internet has served us a lot of attention. So that's, I'm just trying to ride the wave of changes, basically, that's happened.
Well, I would say, sure, the internet served you attention, but I think it's also attention you like set yourself up for, right? I mean, because some folks, as far as I'm aware, are like, oh, like Ken Sakata or like front office, like he's an influencer or he's a person who's explaining how things are made. That's
bizarre, isn't it? Because it's I've come from obscurity, and basically it's like I used to do videos out of my house, which is not very long ago, and now I do videos out of a little shop space here in Australia, which is not exactly the fashion capital of the world. It's like the armpit of the world, basically. And I'm
Where in Australia?
I'm in Melbourne.
Okay, yeah.
And like it just feels like the world is so small now. I can just reach out and touch people that I was only reading about. Like like your podcast, key part of my learning, and it's a little bit dreamlike that I'm here on a podcast with you, to be honest. But
aim higher. But you're on it.
Yeah. It's a little bit unusual. Because it was just like aspirational, like listening to designers that you had brought on, and this is what the fashion world could be like. And listening to that and just, almost wistfully thinking, maybe I'll get to that stage at some stage. And then 2 months later, we're on trips to see huge brands that everyone's heard of. And it just seems like, this whole thing seems a little bit, I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. Still a little bit shell-shocked.
Well, I mean, let's unpack some of that. Not just the shell shock, but I think there's a lot of things that you've done very specifically, deliberately or not, whether that is a constant outpouring of content. And I don't use that word in like a pejorative sense, but just like you're making videos and you're explaining things, you're teaching, you're doing a ton of teaching, so much teaching that if you search certain questions about clothes, your videos are coming up explaining stuff.
Yeah, that's a little bit It's a little bit too much. I reckon it's a little bit too much because I feel like it's. I'm not saying this it's undeserving because it's like it's you've unpacked what deserving is, but I shouldn't be the resource for things. I feel
Well, yeah.
I really shouldn't be, and I feel like the way I see it is like I'm doing my little study for the purposes of designing for my brand, and it's like, oh, this is what I've just learned. And to position myself as I am the authority on denim, I'm the authority on cotton weaving and weaving styles seems inaccurate, I feel.
Oh, well, so I agree that you don't need to be the authority, but you never claim to be the authority in any of your videos. So, I mean, I want to make a very specific thing to call out here. You've never claimed to be the authority. I think your attitude of, I just learned this, but then how you explain it and then you connect the dots is the stuff that people like. And in many ways, I think that's the most exciting thing of, the internet, to air quote, is that someone can put themselves in someone else's shoes and have this empathetic connection to where it's like, oh, I'm a young designer too, or I'm a new designer, whatever type of, young entrepreneur. And these people are learning in real time and they're making these achievements in real time. I can do this too. And I think that's the thing that I don't claim to know what the algo is, but I think that's the part that really gets people excited is that, because I think there's a key sort of tone that you use in all of your videos and all of your explanations is it's never of an attitude where it's like, I'm up here and you're down here and I'm speaking down to you. Like you don't know anything and I'm the source of all the knowledge. And there are people like that.
I think that's dominant fashion media culture. I think.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
These are the 5 things that you need to buy for spring. These are the 5 things that, that you need to get. And it's kind of
you're totally swagless. This is how you do it. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah.
I think people like that though. They do like that. They like to be told what to do and they like to be given a solution. And so many of my videos are so open-ended because like, I don't know the answer. I'll be like, oh, this is kind of what designers have to think about. And it's a little bit less satisfying than, oh, these are the 5 things I need to get for spring. And it's like, oh yeah, done. Add to cart. My life is better, Yeah,
fixed it.
Yeah, and I'm just presenting them with more problems, really. I'm just like, oh, these are the things that you can also think about. And they're like, mate, no.
Have people come at you with that? Of just like,
yes,
this is
constantly.
Really?
I mean, like, these are the things that I watch out for because I'm still in that disgusting phase where I still read comments, which is
danger zone,
not good. And a lot of it's like, oh, so what is the point of this video? Like, what is the point? And I'm like, it's a deep question. There is really no point to anything, to be honest.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about. So yeah, that I've discovered because it just came out of necessity, Jeremy. Like I had no money. I have no money. And I have like 2 currencies in fashion. There's time and there's money. And when I first started, I had no money, but I had lots of time. So I'm like, look, I'll just learn how to do videos because I have no money to... Like generally the fashion landscape is get the hottest person you can afford, right? Against like the most beautiful backdrop that you can afford and pair them together and go like, oh, this is a really aspirational lifestyle. Like Copenhagen, sexy dude or sexy girl. And it's like, you can buy this lifestyle $200 at a time if you buy my shirt, if you buy my jacket. And it's the way that fashion has run for a long time and it works. The problem is that I don't have money. Well, I'm not hot, which is, the main regret of my business is like, if I was hot, I think I would dominate, but I have no money to hire a hot person. And certainly like, I'm not in a fashion city. So it's like, I just have to like nerd out and show people textbooks and like summarize learning for them as I'm going along. And that has really invited a new fashion audience that did not consider design as something that was accessible to them. Like they don't belong in fashion is what they thought. And now through the videos, to be like, oh, actually, I can understand why people make these decisions. But that rarefied fashion bro consumer, I've yet to convince, and probably will never convince. But that's okay.
Wait, hold on a second. Okay, before you send that DM or text that friend, I know what you're thinking. You're ready to buy your first serious watch, or in other cases, maybe your 4th or your 5th. But look, man, it's hard out there. It really is. From this dealer or that store that wants the purchase history or whatever. I mean, you're just, I don't know, you're almost ready to walk away from the whole game. But fear not, my friends. Check out Bezel. Bezel is the trusted marketplace for buying and selling your next luxury watch with expert in-house authentication on every purchase. With over 18,000 watches listed right now, as of the time I'm recording this, from a mix of professional dealers to private sellers, you're just going to find what you're looking for. But wait, I know. You're like, Jeremy, I'm sorry. They don't have that X Rolex or that insane Omega. Well, reach out to them. Bezel has a real team of real people. Just create an account and be connected with a private client advisor, and they will guide you through the entire process every step. Once you decide on your watch, it's overnighted to Bezel HQ, where their in-house team of experts authenticate it, and then it's on your way to you. If anything is amiss, the watch is not listed correctly, whatever it is, they'll let you know, the buyer know, and the offer to refund you or source you a new one at a similar price. That's pretty good, right? This has been part of the Bezel ethos since launch. I've even spoke to the founders about it. And now you can make an offer on a watch, buy it outright, or bid it at auction. Bezel is the highest rated watch marketplace out there. Even Trustpilot shows Bezel is 4.9 out of 5 stars with rave reviews. Okay, you're still on the fence? Dig into the Blamo feed yourself and listen to my chat with the Bezel co-founders and, well, see for yourself. But you got this. I believe in you. Visit getbezel.com and buy and sell your next luxury watch. That's getbezel.com. Getbezel.com. I think that part, you're probably dodging a bullet,
Yes.
right?
I mean, I think so.
That type of consumer tends to be extremely transient, and also I think it's the person that's kind of solving the problem, you know. So I mean, I work in this, you know, full transparency. I've done consulting and continue to work with a few different brands.
Yes.
And some are really, really big and some are really small. And a lot of them have these different sort of like customer profiles. And none of this is new, right? And so it'll be, you know, this is the golf bro, and this person makes this much. They tend to look at clothing as a problem. They don't often do their shopping themselves. But one, you know, and their goal for some of these brands is to get that guy. That type of person, because they don't really want to engage too much. And once they find the right thing, they're like just laser focused in, and they won't buy anything ever again because they don't want to deal with the stress of shopping.
It's a very male problem. It's like, I get it. Yeah.
And those people will spend, in some cases, 20 times more than a person like me who wants story, who wants the romance, who wants transparency, who, I will pay a lot, but I won't really stick myself into a single brand forever, because in my head, I feel like there needs to be almost this like this learning and challenge and constant discovery in search of something new. Right.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
But I won't spend as much as the bros will, because they're like, look, I buy this brand. They never change the fit. I buy it in every color, and then I don't have to think anymore.
Yeah, I'm constantly trying to figure out that mix of things, because it's the Venn diagram of what I want to do and what makes me excited.
Yeah.
You know, my like personal adventures designing, as well as this Venn diagram of like what people actually pay me money for, you know? And it's like this trying to find this like ellipsis, is that big enough to sustain a business? And I constantly battle, and I look at my peers and I look at sort of people who have come before me. It's like some people have really nailed it. But for me, I'm always trying to sustain that, because all the stuff that I like to do, like we're in Japan now, and in Japan is kind of a weird situation where like if you're in China, they give you the fabric book. It's like, what do you want? You know, what fabric do you want to use? You know, we've got contacts with all these fabric mills. And in Japan, they give you the yarn book because you're designing the fabric. And that's like so exciting for me. But scary, right? Because it's like silk, 8 nanometers, 10 nanometers, 12 nanometers. I'm like, what does that mean? What am I doing here? And so exciting. But my personal adventures making cotton silk jeans, does that translate to my customers? Like, are they excited about this process as well? And that's why the videos are so important for me, because I put it out and then I'll be able to gauge what people like and what they don't like before I commit to making like a financial decision. So it's a lot of market research kind of disguised as edutainment as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good phrase. Edutainment. Yeah.
You know, it's so corny, but yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I think I've discovered, or I'm the forefront of like some new way of doing business in a way. And that's very exciting. But there are no right or wrong answers, which is also terrifying.
Well, I think the other thing you do is, and I think a lot of brands wrestle with this now, into which people want to connect with a person over a brand. I mean, look, that's why you have like influencers and all these other types of things, because, you know, what is, say, Gucci mean, right? Let's just get real big. Well, it means luxury, but it means this, but every 10 years it might change its meaning to be this, or this. And certain people wear it that have certain attitudes. So you're connecting with those people first because you're going to look like the other people that wear it, versus, say, an individual where you're like, well, no, I mean, I'm front office. I'm Ken Sakata. And you have all these other aspects of yourself that you've shared that people connect with, whether it's other food you like, other places you like, other, all these different sort of veins or avenues that people are like, okay, I'm into this part. And so I have this thing in common. Therefore, I can now empathize and connect deeper with your brand because, silly example, like this person also likes Radiohead, or this person also really respects Japanese fashion or textile design, or, and that's the thing now where people are like, I want people over brands, but some people are brands, which is
completely agree. But it's like, it's just such an amorphous thing,
Yeah.
Like I said, right? If I was a little bit hotter.
Okay. I'm gonna have to cut you off on that.
Yeah, but if I was hotter,
you look good. You're fine. Look at your skin. You're glowing.
Good. I know. I'm glowing. But
yeah,
if I glowed a little bit more, Jeremy,
oh, God.
I would destroy this industry. It would be game over. I would be a millionaire if I glowed just a little bit more. Because it's like I don't have that gear where I can just go like, aesthetic apartment, little cup of matcha, a little bit of latte art. I don't have that, emergency break glass. I'm always like in the weeds, just going like, oh man, how do they dye Japanese jeans? What's raw indigo like? That's what I have to do.
Is there a person like that you see yourself, that you see that video and you're like, man, I want to look like that. I want to be that person?
No, because I'm so horrifically jealous. I wouldn't allow myself to look at other people's videos. I'll be like, no, I just have to self-improvement, think positive. But yeah, I think it's like the aesthetic is something that I struggle with for my brand. It's like, I know I've got a feeling, an idea of solving problems, of being conscientious, of learning and research and all that stuff. But the aesthetic stuff is like, I'm still working on finding like a classic look that develops from this intention. And obviously it's a very new brand. Like realistically, it's like 2 years old. So I think it's still developing.
Mm-hmm. Well, what would you say is the aesthetic? You said you struggle with it, but it sounds like you knew what it was in your head. You were just kind of editing it.
It's just clothes that you walk around a museum with, in a way.
That's extremely specific.
Yeah, it's very specific, but it's a combination of like elegance. It's a combination of like intellectualism. It's a combination of being seen, but also being private. It's all these little things that kind of combine. But it's like, what does that look like? Is a constant battle, with every design. It's just to get all these different nuances balanced.
Yeah, I mean, as you've done this, is there a person, or say like a person in a film, or like this scene summarizes an emotion I'm trying to capture?
I probably music, like the XX first album.
Okay.
That like even like intro, like the first track, that vibe is something that I always try and return to. It's like, how do I do this in clothes? It's this that has like for a first album, it's so confident and it's so like specific as well. And in that era of like indie rock, it was kind of unexpected as well. And that's how I see my brand. It's like trying to be like an outsider challenger brand, but still be so confident, so self-assured. That's what I'm trying to chase.
That's good. It's interesting because you'd mentioned the XX. They were a band that I think now when you say it, you're like, I know exactly what that is. But when they were first experienced and seen, people were really unsure of it because it was very new.
Yes.
And I just think it's very interesting you picked that.
Yeah, I think a lot of 2008, 2009 music feels like 2008, 2009 music.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't feel timeless.
It doesn't. Well, I mean, yeah, nothing is timeless, but
the Beatles.
Yes, true, very true, very true.
Sorry, that's the only one I can think of.
No,
I'm a
very
fucking
true.
Beatles dork.
Yeah, very true. But for most things can be for some unexpected reason or maybe intentional reason. It's like, it's trendy. And to like somehow dissociate yourself from like what everyone else is doing is so rare, right? Especially in fashion as well. It's like so rare because you're always like, it is a commercial enterprise. You want to de-risk yourself by like doing things that other people have responded to and what people want. But it's always very scary trying to give people what they haven't seen before, I think. And you're constantly trying to find that dynamic Wild West feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it's very hard now, very, very hard to do that in fashion.
I think too, and I'm kind of curious about this, is what does success look like for the brand? Because certain countries...
Yes.
And certain brands have a different understanding of what success means.
Yep.
So I'm curious, what's yours?
I'm chasing that very specific lifestyle for myself. So it's living in Japan, having no more than 5 employees, having really no more than 10 items on sale, available for purchase, and being not really tied to commercial stress. And having no investors that I've got to answer for, having no bosses, and having no real creative input apart from what I want to do. Autonomy is really what I'm chasing. That's what success feels like to me. I'm not very interested in being horrifically rich, because if I wanted to be rich, I'll just continue being a doctor and that would be that.
Yeah, I think it's important to make that, to call that out, which, I mean, because this was not part of the plan from day one. You're not like you went to fashion school and CSM and you're building this thing in your garage. You had a very different trajectory.
Correct. Yeah, I'm still a doctor. I practice twice a month just to keep my license going.
I did not know that. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So I graduated in 2008, right when that period we're talking about. But yeah, I work in surgery. I'm the assistant surgeon for orthopedic surgery. So that's for big complex operations like hip replacements, knee replacements. You need 2 people. And I'm the second person. So
that's kind of boss, though. Can I just say, like, it's pretty dope.
It sounds more impressive than it is. It sounds impressive. It is. I mean, it would be really impressive if I was a really good doctor, but I'm kind of average. So it's like, it's believable. Yeah. We're just such a minority business. Like my city, Melbourne, accounts for 4% of my business. And even then it's kind of, a lot of guys just buy for utility, kind of.
Yeah.
And my brand, because of the videos and people being excited by design, like maybe for the first time in their lives, are the guys who are just graduating from Uniqlo or graduating out of cause. And they're like, oh, maybe I should buy something nice for once. And there is so much anxiety with that as well, because it's the first time they're spending a little bit more money. And the expectation is just wild. It's just wild. It's like, why don't these pair of jeans fit me exactly, like it's tailored? And you're trying to negotiate that actually, just because it's not Uniqlo doesn't mean that it's bespoke. And it's guys at that level that I'm constantly trying to contend with. It's very tricky. I find customer service quite difficult.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that is when any designer can really sort of soar, is when you can disassociate yourself from the customer service. Yeah. And I say this in the sense, because fashion is like got to be one of the only, or at least off the top of my head, or music, got to be one of the only verticals into which you need to interact and create something to make a living off of it. But, the most successful ones compromise the least because they're able to make what they want that gives them happiness and joy. But they had to compromise in a way because you have to sell it, right? Or you have to sell it at a price that seems normal.
Correct. Yeah. It's contending with that hand-to-hand combat is brutal, I think, because it's not, I've got, whatever it is on the internet, like 600,000 followers or something. And it's not normal for 600,000 people to know your email address. It's just,
how do you handle that?
I don't handle it well, Jeremy. I don't handle it well. Like every day I would get at least 40 emails that I need to respond to.
Oof.
And if I spend 15 minutes crafting a meaningful response, that's my whole day just doing emails.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So I can't do that. So it's at this stage, it's kind of like, how do I negotiate letting certain things go while still keeping the identity of the company is this stage. But it's just like a funny company, because right now we're tap dancing until Japan comes online. So for the next 3 months, we don't really have much to sell anymore because all the Chinese stuff is sold out largely.
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of slim pickings right now.
So I'm just going on tour. I'm going to Italy in a month, and then I'm going to visit some people in Berlin. And then I'm back to Japan working on the next collection. So be tap dancing for 3 months until we are in Japan.
And in Japan, I mean, this will be like 3.0 or whatever, right? Because I think every brand, I realize I don't think there's maybe one or two brands of all the brands that I kind of purchase from that aren't Japanese, but everything else, it's Japanese or bust for me.
It's a funny time in Japan now. Population's shrinking. Young people aren't really in factories making stuff, but right now it is such a boom for creative brands, and Japanese fashion is having another boom. And I don't really know. I can't really work it out. But I think, that generation of Japanese fashion being a reaction to American fashion and being so rigorous about reproduction, that was basically the genre of Japanese fashion. But this new wave, this new generation is like, well, that's not my fight anymore. Like, I don't have this post-war echo. I don't have this post-war weird being rebellious against traditional Japanese culture and chasing this American freedom. Like, that was a thing, but that's not what they're designing against anymore. They're designing against Japanese reproduction. Like, that's what they're fighting. So you get a lot of like really interesting brands not doing exacting reproductions, but riffing off of that. Like really interesting brands like Anselm, just like this Japanese brand. They do these pretty traditional looking jeans, but they do a reverse fade. So it's like, it's deliberately faded. They use lasers to fade the opposite pattern of what a traditional jeans fade would be. So it's like half an art project and half like traditional jeans. It's like really interesting riffs. You get like, Tiger Takahashi, like that brand is doing like traditional Japanese dyes on the silhouette of Americana. So they're kind of riffing, they're doing this like second generation of influence. And it's super exciting to arrive at this time, for my brand anyway, where things are like happening, like a new identity is forming. And you go into like where our factories are in Kurashiki, and you look at the floor and it's full of the brands that I admire in the same factory, like in the same dye house. You've got graph paper, you've got A-Press, you've got all these like heavy hitters. And to be in the same, like even to be the worst one in the factory is so inspiring.
Come on.
Yeah. Honestly, I would take it. I'd be like, yes, we've kind of arrived to where I want to be.
Well, how does one get in a factory like that? Because you can't just waltz in.
No, I would say that my online following had so much to do with it. And I use a translator / fixer, but I've been trying since I started the brand, I've been trying so hard to get into Japan, and every time it's been no. And only 3 months ago, it was a yes. And the story that's being sold to these factories, because my volumes are still very low, is that he's moving to Japan. He's Japanese. He's not going to take your craft and go elsewhere, which I think has happened in the past. So he's here to stay. And although the volume is low now, take a look at his Instagram because it's got to be bigger next time. And that's the story that's being sold to them. I speak Japanese. I understand Japanese way more than I can speak it. So I'm hearing this kind of narrative being sold to these factories again and again and again. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what this is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's very interesting because, I mean, to work, I know a handful of folks who want to make stuff in Japan. And some of these people run huge brands. And I mean, huge, like let's say like $5 million, which is not nothing.
Not nothing, no.
And some of these companies, they're like, that kind of Japanese, like, oh, kind of like sucking through your teeth sort of thing. Like, I don't know. I'm not really sure. And it's because it's not the money.
It's not the money.
It's just what they want to do.
Yes. It's like, how do you preserve their dignity in working without disrupting that? They have a lot of self-respect in the way that they produce quality, and they have self-respect in like, this is what I do. I'm so proud of my job. They don't need a new boss to come and go like, oh, let's do that, but 10x that, and you'll be really stressed. and you'll make a lot of money, but your flow, your entire like self-conception of this artisan, quality obsessed person is gonna take a compromise. You're gonna take a hit, but you'll make a lot more money. And they're like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm so chill doing what I do right now. I do not want to do that. So you're always negotiating that. And I think if you come to Japan as a foreign person, there is this perception of like, man, you're just gonna fuck with my ideal life here.
Well, I mean, it's definitely different. You know, a friend of mine, he used to work for Takahiro Miyashita, and he was trying to. It was in the middle of like early soloist hype, and so this is like, I don't know, 2013, 12 or 11, 12, something around there. And he's in Japan, and they're in the meeting, and I've told this story before, but he was like, look, he's like, okay, so here's our 5-year plan. We're gonna go here, we're gonna be here, we're gonna be at this level, and then once we're at this level, we can go to this many doors, and doors is like stores. And he's like, and then this. Then we'll do a store here. We're going to do a store here. And then, so he basically maps out this like grandiose global domination. And Takahiro Miyashita is like just kind of like wincing the whole time. And
why would you want to make money?
Yeah. And he's disgusting. Like, and then we'll be at this level. And then, we can decide what next steps are. And he, just kind of like sat there in silence. And all he said was, why? Like, that was the thing, is he was just like, this makes no, like, why? Like, why would we do this? And he ultimately, they stayed working together, but he ultimately was like, yeah, let's just maybe just work on the next collection. Like, he just had no desire to engage in this larger, global sort of growth thing. And my friend was so dumbfounded. And he was like, the only thing that Takahiro-san could think of at the time was, how much is this going to mess up the current production? Because that would have mean they have to make more. That's more work for him. That store design comes into play, all these other things. And if they're going to grow even more, they also have to charge more money, because most Japanese brands only have a margin of like 30%. And so that whole thing was basically torture for him. And he was just like, it's going to completely ruin my brand to grow like that. But I think the biggest takeaway from that is, I really wish most clothing brands had that same attitude. Because at the end of the day, what most consumers want now is something that's special, something that's unique, something that feels like you're connected to the designer and their vision. And you also kind of want them to impress that upon you. Like, I don't want to have my say. If Kaz from A Press messages me and he's like, yo, what do you think I should make this year? I would be like, what the fuck? Like, you're the guy. And I guarantee, obviously, he's never going to do that. Like, but like, I want them to impose that on me. And then I'm just going to be on this roller coaster, So yes. I don't know. I digress. But I think about that so much.
No, that's a key insight, I think. You want to, when you jump in an Uber, you want the address to be predetermined. You don't want to jump in and go like, and the guy, and like, where are we going? I don't know. Wherever we want to go. That's that's not a good way to live, right? You need some direction. And yeah, you want to be taken on a ride for sure. I understand that. But yeah, it's such an interesting industry, I feel. Such an interesting, because, I come from medicine. Is the complete opposite. The stakes are so high, but people are so calm. And so, but in fashion, it's like emotions are so high. The stakes are non-existent. Like, honestly, truly, who cares? But people are so, you see the strangest, most like panicked, anxious behavior as well. It's just, I can't work it out. I'm glad I got to this career at this stage of my life, massively. Because I think if I pursued it when I was 23, my view of the world would be completely skewed. But I'm a lot more pragmatic about things.
Yeah.
And my goals are very, very modest. Like, all I want is autonomy, because I think in medicine, you're surrounded by the richest, most accomplished people in the world. And they're so rich, but they are kind of locked into this like very, very horrible lifestyle. And they would pay so much money just to have 6 weeks of holiday, of just autonomy, of doing whatever I want to do. And then it's back to like really being in service of something that is where you are not a priority. And that's true altruism, right? I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot of people chase that lifestyle because there's this financial security, right? But then you find out that financial security doesn't do much. Like, a friend of mine, he works in finance. He has a 7-figure comp. So, but he completely hates his life, but he feels like he can't go to the thing that he wants to do, which, believe it or not, is painting.
Golden handcuffs, that sort of thing.
Because he's like, well, I make so much money. I can, I stay at the greatest hotels. I eat at the best restaurants. He's got every watch he could ever need. He's also the person where, we'll talk about clothes and I'll mention a brand or something. He's like, oh, like this brand. And then he buys it all. And I'm like, you fucking ruined it, man.
Yeah, exactly. If it's, that's true.
I'm like, you bought it.
Part of the romance is that it's slightly unattainable. And it requires a lot of thought and a little bit of sacrifice to buy the things that you want to buy, because that gives it meaning and gives it some sort of sacrifice. But if it's so available, it's like, the game is kind of different, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think because you've kind of walked in these different worlds, it seems like the biggest thing you're chasing is freedom and being an artist.
For sure. Definitely. I don't really understand if that's not the goal, actually. I don't really understand any other approach, surely. Like, surely you're just trying to do the best work that has some meaning, so that once someone puts it on, they have the same idea that's floated in your head for a year, and it floats into their head via the execution of the garment. Surely that's the only thing that matters. In fact, like, if I was to just do, like, 10 designs, and I sold just enough so that we could go again the next collection and go again and go again. That's all I want. I'm kind of like a drug addict, I think, in a way, because I just want to be this high forever. Like, what's my 5-year plan? I don't know, to still be alive. If you ask drug addicts, like, what's their 5-year plan? It's kind of ludicrous, right? It's like, I just want to be high forever. Like, that's all I want. It doesn't get more complex than that.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that, the artist, did you ever read the book, The Artist's Way? It's such a boring book, but it actually has some strong things in it.
I have. I have. I've read every corny book and derived a lot of wisdom from them. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Rick Rubin, the whole thing. Like, yep.
Oh, Rick Rubin's thing. Look.
You know what? It's corny as hell, but it's like, and the guy's insane. Like, there's a part where he says the universe spoke to him to not get his appendix being operated on, which I thought, like, immediately it kind of invalidated the entire book. But for me, like, I opened the book and it said, like, don't remove a part of yourself that shouldn't be removed. And I thought, I told the doctors no. That stuff is a little bit like, okay. You do whatever you want to do, surely. But it kind of makes the other stuff less.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes the otme stuff less impressive. It makes me want to jump onto the other stuff a little bit less. But I'm constantly reading. That's kind of like the lifeblood of my work.
I think the big thing that I'm curious about too is, like, when do you feel that you almost have to shut off the creative input, in the sense that, like, okay, I'm now in a position where I've absorbed, X amount, that I kind of need to focus on my own, like, gut feeling now, versus this sponge-like behavior where you're absorbing all this new information and learning all these new ideas. Yeah.
I was having this discussion with this designer mate that I have in Berlin, and my secret gut feeling is that every designer, like, comes with their own baggage, their own neuroses, and that makes them, like, uniquely equipped to design certain things that you can, because you understand that problem better than anyone in the world. So it's like for me, it's like, how do I look as sick as possible in a museum is my personal thing, right? Because I've battled with that kind of maybe that insecurity my entire life. It's like, I was not looking sick in museums. I like to be in museums and I want to live that lifestyle. It's like that I understand that vibe, and I understand that, the silhouette, the drape, the color, the texture, because I've thought about it my entire life. So it's like, I know this problem, and that comes from my own insecurities, my own background. But as soon as I sort of deviate to start off thinking about, so-and-so has done like a really sick mini hoodie, or like, there's, or like, like Anselm is doing such great, like, reverse fades. Maybe I can do my own spin on that. It just starts deviating what you are going to be really great at. And for me, it's like, it requires a lot of discipline to kind of return to what you're uniquely good at. And for me, it's like, I constantly get distracted, but I'm trying to get that discipline for that. And, you look at guys like, like Errolson Hugh acronym, like, all his clothes live in that same universe, right? It's so consistent because he's always constantly, for like, 20 years, has been trying to solve that one problem, right? Of like that he's created a universe where he's constantly trying. That's why all his clothes are consistent. All his clothes live in that same world. And those are designers I admire the most.
Yeah, that's a great example with Errolson Hugh, because when you look at how long acronym has been around being acronym,
totally,
and all the different sort of trends that have kind of come in and out, you know, from suiting to super, you know, streetwear to suiting to big fits to skinny fits, all that stuff. Acronym is just, it's the same. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like, go back one generation, like with who Errolson interned with, Massimo Osti.
Yeah, it's true.
That world is so consistent. Like, even all his brands, you can tell that that's his worldview. Like, he is trying to solve for, you know, this kind of very Italo, you know, cyberpunk, futurist, militaristic fashion. Like, that's his point of view. And like, that's what he's trying to solve for. And that's why all his clothes are like, you know, it's so consistent. Those are the guys I look to and I'm like, yeah, that's what design is to me. It's not the guys who are kind of like doing what's happening right now. Like, what's my response? What's my version of what's super hot right now? Those guys, no respect. Disgusting.
There is a brand, and they're not really in business anymore, so I don't mind talking about it. Basically, they change the brand every few years because just trends changed. But initially, they basically just, you know, they started out being very kind of Ralph Lauren purple label E. And this was sort of 2010, 2011, when it was kind of like this hashtag menswear thing. Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden they got like super streetwear E. And then they changed, and you're just like, oh, this brand doesn't have a soul.
No.
You know, it was just like they thought that what they were selling was like their own name, and they could exist in whatever type of design, and that people would still double down on that name. But the truth is, I mean, they never did the work to make the brand name worth something more. Like, Rolex can make any watch, and it says Rolex, and people are like, well, it means this.
Yep.
But Rolex has been around for like over 100 years, and they haven't made that many different watches, right?
Exactly.
You know, it's like they don't really get that different. But I think like that for me is always the staying power that I think of a brand, is how much do they compromise?
Yeah, and I think this whole like this duality between marketing and design is something that I think about constantly. Like, you know, when they have this discussion about, oh, is it design or is it the marketing? Like, which is it? And you're like, mate, sometimes the design is the marketing, you know?
Ooh, bars.
But you have to consider it that way, because if it's something that's purely, I get so offended, like irrationally. I get so offended when people are going like, oh man, you're such a good marketer.
That stings.
This is so painful. Like, what I try to do is I try to put so much effort into the design of the thing. And my videos are just like a plain bullet 3-minute retelling of the transparent process of how we decided on the decisions that we decided on. That's it, right? And if your design is sick, if your design is so impressive and so interesting or innovative, it doesn't need much more than you standing in front of a camera talking for 3 minutes, I think. So that's kind of what I try to do. But, you know, and then to be classed as like a marketer, you know, no offense to marketers, obviously, but, you know, you guys are anti-creative, soulless human beings.
We're storytellers.
Don't email me,
storytellers,
please.
Man.
I know you know my email. Do not email me.
We're the Gutenberg press.
I think, I've never bought an ad in my life, and I don't plan to. I think when I start buying ads, you know that the company is like in trouble, I think. But yeah, I just don't believe in that. Like, I don't really gift things either, because I hear that, you know, that's a really smart thing to do. But I give things on the condition that people don't post it. And I give things to people that, you know, I generally want their opinion on stuff. You know, I think that'll be interesting for them to like see it. And I'll give things to friends. Yeah, I'm too old, I think.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you said like you don't pay for ads, because I feel like eventually, no matter what happens, there is this form of like digital rent that just kicks in.
I already pay that, you know, in a way. In a way.
That's fair.
You know, being on Instagram is not my own platform. Like, being on TikTok is not my own platform. I'm certainly at the whims of, you know, geopolitical events that can shut down the platform.
That's very true.
So I just feel like, you know, I'm already like compromising by not owning my audience. And then to pay money on top of that, it's like, oh,
It stings. It definitely stings.
If I had a boss, if I had an investor to answer to that needed a return on investment then I'll be forced to do those things, I think. But why would I do that? Don't know.
Yeah. I mean, shit, that's a great spot to end it right there. Like, why would you do it? Ken, thank you so much.
No, thank you. I'm thrilled. Like, this is a little bit weird, for me, honestly. A little bit weird.
It's been a joy for me. So I hope you weren't uncomfortable at all.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks again, man. It was great chatting. You've been listening to Blamo. Our show is produced by Blamo Media. We're edited by Amar Lowell, and our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. If you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars or thumbs up on whatever other thing you're listening to us on, whether it's Dingledorp or Bing Bong, whatever it's called. But you can also follow us on Instagram for all the hot content. If you want to talk to us and give us your hot take, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at info@blamopod.com. Last but not least, super, ultra important, if I had a air horn, I would press it right now. You got to come and join us over on Patreon, because the fun never stops over there. Look, the live show, the free show, whatever you want to call this, we take breaks here and there, but Patreon, it never stops. And we also got exclusive shows like Die Workwear, hosted by Derek Guy and Peter Zotolo, and the Triple J Show, hosted by yours truly with John Moy and Gene DeLeon. There's just a ton of stuff over there. So check it out at patreon.com/Blamo. If not, no worries. We got hundreds and hundreds of free episodes in the feed and more to come. So we will see you all soon.